right, looks like everyone from the waiting room has joined us. So we'll jump right into it. My name is Jonathan Harwell-Dye, and I am the Director of Programs for the Arts and Business Council. And so I'm going to lead this information session and talk about the Periscope Artist Entrepreneur Training. As we go through the evening, if you have questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. We will have some time for Q&A at the end, but if you have a question relevant to what I'm talking about at any given time, you can share that. I'll try to get to it then. If I can't answer it then, I'll definitely come back to it in the Q&A. So feel free to do that so you don't have to remember all of your questions at the end of the evening. All right, and there are instructions in the chat on how to activate the subtitles if you have any trouble with that. Our program coordinator, Annie Brocious, is on the thing, is here as well as our executive director, Jill McMillan-Palm. So if you message Annie, she can help you with the subtitles if you need assistance there. All right. So we'll start with who we are. So we are the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville. We are a 501c3 nonprofit art service organization. We leverage and unite the unique resources of the arts and business communities to create a thriving, sustainable, creative culture in Nashville. We do this by creating mutually beneficial partnerships between the arts and business communities, by providing direct services, key opportunities, and education to the creative community, to help them master the business of art, which is one of our main programs for doing that is Periscope, which is what you're here to learn about tonight. And then we also inspire workplace creativity in businesses to demonstrate the impact of the arts through tangible benefits and to develop lifelong arts participants and supporters. So we bring the business skills to the art world and the art world to businesses. I mentioned our staff members. We have a 4-person staff. Jill McMillan-Palm is our executive director. I am Jonathan Harwell-Dye. I'm the director of programs. Annie Brocious is our program coordinator. And then not with us tonight is Victoria Banks, who is our attorney manager for our VLPA program, which is the Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts. If you have legal questions related to your arts practice, whether that be a contract review or copyright questions or anything related to legal matters around your creative business, our Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts program can help you through. We do quarterly business and legal clinics. We have volunteer attorneys and volunteer professionals that take cases. We run about over 400 cases a year. So if you have questions related to that, you can always check our website and learn more about Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts. So tonight we're going to talk about Periscope. This is kind of an overview of what we're going to talk about. We'll begin by talking about what is Periscope exactly, who can apply for Periscope, what should you expect from the program, what is the application timeline and the process for selection, and when will you be notified of things, all of those questions, we'll try to answer those. We'll talk a little bit about our attendance requirements, our new health and safety guidelines for 2022, and we'll watch a couple of testimonial videos from past participants, and then we'll open it up to just a general Q&A. So that's kind of how we're going to run through the evening. So what is Periscope? We call it an artist entrepreneur training program, but what does that really mean? We describe Periscope in a few ways. One is that it's intensive, interactive, curriculum-based program. So the training portion is a lot of information. It is based on a curriculum that we've developed with partners. We call it an intensive because it truly does take a lot of hard work, a lot of attention, and is a lot of information that you're provided. But the goal is to empower you, working artists, to see your creative vision, your creative practice through an entrepreneurial lens, which simply means understanding the underlying mechanisms of business that you can apply to your creative practice. What are the tools that entrepreneurs use that you can also use to sell and market your work or a business based off your creative practice? A little bit of a history of Periscope. Periscope was founded with 4 original partners beyond the Arts and Business Council. And those partners were the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, who we still work closely with, a lot of our instructors, our advisors as well at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. The Metro Arts, Nashville's Office of Arts and Culture is a major funder of the Arts and Business Council and Periscope and has been a partner since the very beginning. We also work closely with the Mayor's Office of Economic and Community Development and the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce to develop the curriculum and the program and all the iterations that we've had over the past almost a decade now of Periscope cohorts. And then Periscope really, I think of Periscope in 3 phases of the program, and some of those overlap, but really the first phase of the program, once you're accepted into it, is 8 weeks of in-person training, which has been virtual the last 2 years, but we are returning this year to an in-person training model. And we'll talk a little bit about the health and safety guidelines that go along with that decision a little bit later. But 8 weeks of in-person training starting March 24th through May 12th. And what that consists of is a half day of training once per week on Thursdays from March 24th, which is the first Thursday, all the way through May 12th, which is the 8th Thursday of the program. And not only do you meet once a week, but there's also homework in between each session. So you are truly, for those 8 weeks, engaged in a very intensive curriculum around entrepreneurship and how to apply those skills specifically to an artistic practice and an artistic business. So after the training is completed, we move into sort of phase 2, which is the 6 months of one-on-one mentorship. So you are paired with a business mentor who commits to work with you for at least an hour a month for 6 months to help you apply what you learn in the training to your specific creative business, the business that you are either trying to launch, trying to grow, whatever the case may be. They're there to help you take what you've learned and really apply it and parse through it and implement that in your creative business. And then phase 3, which overlaps with phase 2, is the Periscope Pitch and Artist Entrepreneur Showcase. So that's really the culminating event and party and celebration, graduation ceremony for the program. And after you complete the training, once you start working with your mentor, you go through the summer, you will participate in preliminary rounds for the Periscope Pitch, pitching your creative business, and we walk you through that process. And then a select group is able to pitch on stage at that culminating event. And then every artist in the program is part of the Artist Entrepreneur Showcase. Everyone gets a table or a booth and a display to talk about their creative business at the event. So it is really the ultimate celebration of the program. Usually there's about 8 artists that pitch on stage out of a cohort of 25. So just under a third of the participants make it onto stage. All artists have a booth in the Artist Entrepreneur Showcase. And then there are cash prizes awarded for both the pitch process and the Artist Entrepreneur Showcase. So it's a wonderful celebration, and sort of that is when we wrap up the program. We end the Periscope Pitch and Artist Entrepreneur Showcase with a graduation ceremony and then an awards ceremony. So that is when you officially graduate from the program. All right, so that's kind of an overview of what Periscope is. Now we'll talk a little bit about who can apply, who's qualified, and what that means. And to say someone qualifies to apply doesn't necessarily mean, that they have the strongest application, but the basic requirements that we have are: you must be a resident of Tennessee. You must be a working artist. So that means that you're making work in any artistic discipline. You are a working professional, although you don't have to be working full-time as an artist, but you do have to be an artist who is making work in whatever discipline you're in to qualify. And then when we talk about working professional, what kind of goes hand in hand with that is that you cannot currently be enrolled in a degree granting program. So this is not a program for people who are in undergrad or graduate school. This is a program for people that have completed that education and are out in the world trying to sort of make a business out of their art. So that is what we're looking for. It's really tough. Like I said, it's an intensive curriculum. And so when you think about the amount of work that goes into Periscope, if you're trying to do a full-time graduate school or undergraduate program at the same time, it's really going to be difficult. It's a really difficult thing to do. So we ask that people are not enrolled in one of those programs while they're also participating in Periscope. And then a little bit more about what to expect when you're in the program. We talk about 4 things that Periscope provides. One being training, which is the 8-week in-person training, where you really get a big picture view of your business model and what the mechanisms of business are and how you can understand where your resources come from, how you market your work, how you get your work to the people that are your customers, all the different aspects of that. And then we also talk about functional business practices, really sort of digging in certain areas to focus on different tools for your creative practice. So there's a portion of the curriculum that builds each week on itself, so that, you know, what you're learning in week 1, you're going to be thinking about in week 8. And then even as you're developing your pitch and going through that mentorship process, you're going to be continuing to apply what you've learned. What you learn in week 1 is going to be added to week 2, week 3, week 4. And then each week there's also going to be things that are sort of practical, easy to implement, that you can get, that you will already be able to apply. So we're looking at both big picture, long-term, and also short-term skill development within the program. A big part of the program is what we call exchange, the small group work during training. So we select a cohort of up to 25 artists. And then each of those, and then in each cohort, we divide those into small groups that meet each week of about 5 artists, and they have a group leader that walks them through the program and sort of helps them to implement what they're learning through the curriculum into their actual creative practice. We're not necessarily looking at theoretical creative businesses. We're talking about tools that you can use and then how you can apply them to your actual creative business. And so we have 5 group leaders that are all arts professionals who have done this work, who have walked through this program before with other cohorts, who help you understand how you can truly implement that as you go and also in the future. And then with mentorship, like I said, you're paired one-on-one with a high caliber business mentor. That business mentor is a volunteer, and they commit to work with you at least 1 hour a month for 6 months. They are not paid, they are volunteers, and they are business leaders. And their role is to really help you overcome the hurdles that you may face, trying to understand and apply that curriculum to your business from someone who really understands the different aspects of entrepreneurship and can help you implement that. But you are the driver in mentorship in a lot of ways. You're going to be, as a mentee, you're going to be the one who's coming with your questions and what you're trying to accomplish. They're not going to be, they're there as a resource to help you walk through that process and apply what you've learned. And then exposure. The pitch event is about 200 people attend that event every year. It's a really great event. We record the pitches and put them online so that people can watch them, put them on their website, share them on social media. And then we also have year-round opportunities. On a regular basis, we share success stories, career milestones through our social media, through our email newsletter, all sorts of different ways that we try to continue to engage alumni of the program and also showcase them to the community, spread the word about the accomplishments that they have after the program. So all those are aspects of the Periscope training and what you can expect if you go through the program. So a typical training day is from 9 to 1 p.m. on Thursdays for the 8 weeks of the training. And it begins at 9 a.m. to about 10:15, 10:20 a.m. is when you have your training session with the full group of 25 cohort members with entrepreneurial leaders that are teaching you the curriculum. And that's about an hour and 15 to an hour and 20, 25 minutes that they are providing that curriculum week over week. We have different instructors that come in. And then we'll usually take a quick break, and then we'll go into breakout sessions. And that's when you work in your small group from about 10:30 a.m. to about noon, maybe 11:50, 11:55. We have just a little bit of transition time built in there. But you have about as much time with the instruction, what you might even think of as like a lecture portion, although it's very interactive as well. And then your breakout session is when you get together with the same group of 5 artists and your group leader each session, and sort of talk about what you've learned that day, how that applies to what you've learned in previous weeks, how you're applying that to your business. There's homework in between sessions. You'll talk about the homework in those group sessions as well. And then every day we do a lunch and learn from noon to 1 p.m. And that's where we bring in different arts leaders, business professionals, other allies to talk about very specific topics related to entrepreneurship and artist entrepreneurship specifically. And that may be everything from understanding the differences and their in like types of entrepreneurship, whether it be music based or visual art based or whatever. It might be talking about sort of how do you think about equity in entrepreneurship when there's been a lot of historic barriers in entrepreneurship for people that are members of marginalized communities, and how what are the obstacles that they might face that other folks might not face from a point of privilege. We might talk about, very practical things like developing customer profiles or marketing your work. But the lunch and learns are there to sort of add on to what you're learning and to focus on important topics that you can apply as you're going through the program as well. So that's kind of a typical training day and what that's like. All right, so this is the timeline for Periscope 2022. We opened up applications on January 3rd. On January 20th, that's today, we're doing this Periscope information session. Thank you all for being here. And then on February 3rd at noon, that is when nominations for the program are due. So if you know an artist who you think might also be interested in this program, you can nominate them through our website through February 3rd. We'll invite them to apply. Some of you may have been nominated. We may have already invited you to apply, but you can nominate any artist that you think would benefit from this program, might be interested in this program. And then February 10th is the actual application deadline. That's the big, bold thing there. February 10th at noon is the deadline to submit your applications. The reason that it's at noon is in case you have a trouble submitting your application, you can reach out to us. We'll be working. So we will be able to answer any last minute questions that you have, make sure that you can get that application in by the deadline. Applications, once they are received, we put them together, we send them out to reviewers, community reviewers, and then we get the scores back. And then the week of about February 28th is when artists will be notified if they've been selected for the program or not. Artists who are selected, we notified them, we asked them to confirm their participation, and then we announced the class. The class begins on March 24th with the first training session. The training ends on May 12th. The same day that training ends, mentorship begins. And then over the summer, we go through the pitch preliminaries, and the pitch event is always in September each year. And Jill just put a note in the chat. You do not have to be nominated to apply. I want to make sure I call that out again. You can apply. You do not have to be nominated to apply. But if you know someone who should be nominated, please do take time and nominate them. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the application materials. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to complete the online application form that's linked from our website. You will want to take a look at that and think about that before you begin the application. One thing I will tell you is you may not be able to save your application once you start. Google Forms can be tricky that way, and that's the platform that we use. So we recommend that you go through and really prepare your application ahead of time in like a Word document or a Google document, or have what you're going to put in there so that if something happens, your computer freezes up, or anything like that, that you have access to those materials and you don't lose an entire application. So that's just a very important thing to be thinking about. But once you complete the application and you submit that, we ask you to email in a copy of your resume or your CV. We ask that that be 3 pages max and that it be in Word or PDF format only. Don't send us JPEGs of your resume. Try to put that in either a Word or a PDF format. If you create it in some other platform, just save it as a PDF and send it to us. And then work samples can be a little bit tricky for some folks because what we're asking for is work samples appropriate to your discipline. So that can be audio and video samples, that can be digital images of your work, that might be a manuscript. So if you're a film or video or artist, then you're gonna send us video clips. If you're working in audio, you're gonna send us that. If you're a musician, you might send us recordings. If you are a visual artist or a photographer, you would send us digital images. If you're a literary artist, anything like that, then you might send us a manuscript with samples. You don't have to send all of these. What you have to send is what's appropriate for the discipline which you're applying under. So that's really thinking about, like, if you're applying because you want to start a business that's based on your work as a writer, then you would send us a manuscript, for example. You can send your work as links as well. There's options to do that for us to be able to download images or download audio files. If you do that, though, if there's any special instructions, you'll want to include that when you email those in. You don't upload that as part of the application. You actually email in those separately. And your application is not complete until we receive your resume or CV and your work samples through email. And we will confirm with you once we have received everything and say, your application is now complete. Thank you for submitting. But make sure that you don't complete the application and forget to send in your work samples. Make sure you gather all that stuff up so you can send it all at once and have it wrapped up and done. All right, so your application, how is it reviewed? We recruit community members to review the portfolios. And so panelists evaluate that based on quality, creative vision of your work, motivation and need, diversity and representation of the cohort overall, and overall impression of your work. So quality, creative vision is going to be, are you creating work that's of a high quality in the discipline that you're working in? We're not necessarily looking and saying, is this type of art better than this type of art? They're not doing that sort of thing, but they are going to look and say, okay, you have this business that you want to start. Do you have the work that seems like it will be successful in that business, that has the potential to be successful? Mark Jones just asked, is there someone to walk through the application process if you need help? Mark, you can email us at info@abcnashville.org. That's linked on the application and on the Periscope page on our website. So we can answer questions that you have. If you have a question, you need to schedule a call, we can do that. If you are going to do that, though, don't wait till the last day because we will probably be inundated. But if you reach out to us, we will try to help you in any way we can to be able to do that. And then in terms of motivation needs, so they're going to be looking at, have you been putting in the work and the effort to launch the thing that you've described, the business that you've described in your application? Is this training likely to benefit you? Is there a need for entrepreneurial training to help you with that? Dina, you said, do you want our full resume or just artist resume? Probably just your artist resume, but it does depend a little bit on what you're applying as. So for example, if some of your non-artistic work is applicable to the business that you're starting, for example, if you have experience as a customer service manager and your business is going to be very customer focused, you might want to include that to give context to why you have the skill set to be able to help customers, for example. So yes, we want an artist resume, but you want to think about the overall story you're telling in your application, the overall business you're trying to create, and you may want to cater your resume specifically to this application a little bit too. So think about that. But yes, we are looking for a resume that talks about your career as an artist. You can have both. I would say, though, we have a 3-page limit, so you're going to want to combine those, Dina. If you have an artist CV and a resume, you do need to combine those into one document specific to this application. All right, so they're going to be looking at that. We're going to look at diversity and representation of the whole cohort. It is one of our cornerstone values. We have an equity statement on our website that talks about this, but diversity and representation in all of our programs is very important to us, and we do consider that. And that is all forms of diversity, including genre and discipline. It includes artists that are working in rural areas, urban areas, suburban areas, racial demographics, gender identity, all of that stuff is very important to make sure that we have a diverse representative cohort each time. So that is taken into consideration. And then the overall impression of your application is the other criteria that they score. And so panelists include local arts leaders, curators, artists, program partners, and alumni. So just like I mentioned earlier, that we founded this program with representatives from like the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, from the mayor's office. We have program partners that are on the review panel. We have local artists, local curators, people that are in the music industry in different roles. We have a wide variety of people scoring those. All right. And then program costs. So there is no application fee to apply for Periscope. But if you are accepted into the program, there is a $250 participation fee, which the real program cost, we've done all the math on this, is about $1,750, which is subsidized through the funders that support Periscope, program partners, and the scholarship fund that people can donate to on our website. So we do really underwrite the majority of that cost, but every participant is expected to pay that $250 program fee. If you are unable to pay that fee, that's something that we would be willing to talk about if you're accepted into the program. There are the possibility of limited scholarships, but generally speaking, everyone is expected to pay that $250 program fee to be able to join the cohort. So all of that happens once you are accepted into the program. For the application, there is no fee. All right. Now, this one's very important, and people ask a lot of why attendance is mandatory, which I think is self-explanatory in some ways, but it's very important when you have so many people that are applying for Periscope, that are trying to get into this cohort. There are more applicants than there are spots available. Sometimes you'll hear us talk about Periscope is very competitive. And what we're saying in that is that there are a lot more applicants than there are spots available. We only accept 25 artists. If we have 100 artists apply, if we have 150 artists apply, only 25 are getting in no matter what. So that limitation makes it competitive in the sense that we only have a limited number of spots. So if you are taking up one of those spots, you have to commit to this program. You have to commit to attend every session. You have to, and so we recommend that you pay attention to those program dates that are listed on our website. It's really important that you're present for not just the training, but also your small groups, because in those groups, you're working with other participants. They're relying on you and you're relying on them. For all of those reasons, it's really, really important that you attend. And this year, like I said earlier, the program will return to in-person. So that means physically being present. And so you need to think about that, look at the program dates, make sure that you can truly commit to this, because it is, attendance is mandatory. With that being said, in extreme circumstances, we will allow for one absence, but generally speaking, when you accept the position in this cohort, you do commit to attend every session and to be fully present and participate in all of the program. All right. And because we're in person, we have had to institute health and safety guidelines. This is just really important as we have the Omicron surge. We're hoping that numbers are going to be a lot back down by the end of March when we actually start the in-person training. But we are going to be requiring all individuals to wear a mask at all times while indoors during the training. The training will be held on Belmont University's campus. We're using some of their facilities for this, and they have a rule on campus right now that everyone on campus, when they are indoors, must be masked. So we are aligning with that. And if that changes, then these guidelines are subject to change as well, based on whatever rules are come down on that. But we will be requiring everyone to mask indoors at all times, for sure. And then you're either going to have to provide proof of full vaccination prior to the beginning of the program. Full vaccination being 14 days after the final shot in either a single shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine or a 2-shot Pfizer Moderna vaccine. So you have to be 2 weeks out from your second shot, or you have to bring a negative COVID test each week that's that is dated within 72 hours of the training session. It can't be an at-home test because we can't really date those. So it does have to be a test from a facility that provides a time-dated report to you. So that's something to take into consideration. If you're not able to provide proof of vaccination, you have to be able to show that you have a negative COVID test each week before the training session. We're also encouraging vaccine boosters to anyone who qualifies for those. So if you are eligible for a vaccine booster and you haven't gotten that, we encourage everyone to get that. And then each week, we're going to ask participants to confirm that they've not been exposed to COVID, that they are symptom-free, and we are going to keep these sort of guidelines subject to change based on the current conditions. If things change in the world, we may have to make adjustments. But generally, this has been the protocol that we've used for any of our limited in-person events. We've followed very similar protocols to this and have been very successful with that. And so this is probably the minimum of what you would see us do. If something changes, we might have to shorten that window or something like that. But that's the commitment that you're making with the program, is to provide that negative test or to be able to provide proof of full vaccination. All right, so I'm going to play a couple of testimonials that were sent to us this week from past Periscope participants. So these are about a minute and a half each, but I wanted to let program participants sort of talk to you about their experience, and then we'll go into just a regular Q&A, and we can kind of answer everyone's general questions. All right, so the first participant is Aaron Graham. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment so that I can pull up that video. Okay, I'm going to share that video.
Hey, my name is Aaron Graham. I am an artist, and I'm from the Periscope class of 2018. I just want to share a quick little memory of the very first day of class, which we were taught something that set the foundation for all of this, for the whole class and everything. And it's this, that your art is a legitimate business, and it should be treated as such. As artists or creatives of any type, we're constantly battling this idea of not wanting to sell out, or oh, it's just this painting I did. How can I ask for money, or how can I ask for enough money, or if your family doesn't see the value in what you do, or if you don't see the value in what you do, just know that it's okay to make money from it. It's okay to treat it as a business, because it is. You're producing something of value. You're helping people. You're enriching people's lives. And not everybody has to understand it. Not everybody has to see it. But I believe that if you stay true to what you're doing and what you want to be doing, you'll find the people who do get it. And those are your people. So anyway, I hope you apply. And if you have any questions, I'm an open book. You can ask. And yeah, thanks. See you later.
All right, so that was Aaron Graham. He's a 2018 Periscope alum. And then we also have one more testimonial video from Mimi McCarley, who is a 2021 Periscope participant. So Aaron did the in-person version. Mimi was in last year's cohort, so that was actually still online. So you'll get her perspective as well. And I'm going to share that video as soon as it pulls up.
Hey, I'm Mimi McCarley with Collab Music Network, and I was a 2021 Periscope participant and graduate. I am a fan of this program, and here's why. One, Periscope provided me with community. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, sometimes the road can feel lonely. So just being surrounded by like-minded individuals who needed similar supports, who were experiencing the same type of things, that was an encouragement in and of itself. Two, the information and the insights and the knowledge that you gain from this program. Building a business can be overwhelming. And so having that right information was valuable to me. Thirdly, I would say the resources and the tools. So, knowing what needs to be done and then knowing how to do it are two separate things. And so Periscope provided both the resources and tools to activate the information and knowledge that you gain is important. And the single most thing that was beneficial to me was the pitch. The pitch is where you hone in on, it allowed me to hone in on my business model, and it brought the whole program together. And so I would encourage everyone to participate in the pitch. Again, I am a fan and advocate of this program, and I am so thankful for the Periscope program.
All right. So that is the end of my presentation. And now we're going to go into just the general Q&A. I have up here, you can see my email address, the deadline, and the website address as well. But I'm going to just open it up. If you want to ask questions, you can put them into the chat and we can go through them and try to take any questions that you might have. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. If you want to unmute, you can also unmute yourself, and we'll be happy to answer questions that way as well. That might be easier and a little bit more casual.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
I apologize for my lighting. It's super dark in this room, but it's where the best internet reception is. I was just curious, as far as like, you were talking about submitting a CV and samples of your work. I do have plenty of samples of work, but I'm very newly making the transition from hobbyist to actually trying to pursue my art as a business. So, I mean, I last year kind of waded through the muck of trying to create a Shopify on my own and, build a little bit of an internet presence with Instagram. But I mean, this program sounds amazing. I just wasn't sure like how far into this process. I don't really have an artist CV, so I wasn't sure what that would look like in the application process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Rachel, I think it's okay if you are in that transition phase. Like that is absolutely okay. So first of all, know that. And if you are in that phase, just have your CV reflect that story and talk about where you are in the process, what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. And then with your CV, just think about what you've done that you can put in there that can talk about how you've been prepared for that transition. So just thinking about catering your resume for a job application, this is a little bit different. What you're trying to do is you're trying to sort of demonstrate how you've gotten to where you are today and why you're qualified to do what you're trying to do. So, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a perfect artist career or 1,000 exhibitions or 100 shows or whatever the case may be. But just think about how the business that you're trying to start, where the skills you've developed over the years came from, and how can you tell that story?
Okay. Maybe semi-related to that, is this a program that's specific to, I guess I was a little unclear on like the entrepreneur connection to the business side of Nashville. Is this something where like we're specifically trying to offer our art, so to speak, to businesses in Nashville, or can there be an online component of that?
Yeah, it can absolutely be online. 100%. It's not about you offering your services to Nashville businesses. It's about you being a Nashville business, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
So we're trying to help you start your business. And you can be serving people online. You can be serving people in Nashville, around the world. We're neutral about that. It's more about the work that you're producing. And in this program, that's really where you figure out who even are your customers, right? So that's part of the program in and of itself.
Okay, great. That sounds very helpful. Thank you.
Okay,
Jonathan.
Angela, 1 second, and then I'll come to you, okay?
Okay.
I'm just going to answer Mark's question from the chat because I saw that. Are the learning materials digital or paper handouts? The learning materials are digital. They're all provided through an online platform. There may be some materials that are provided in person, since we are in person, but you will have a digital version of all the materials that you can later print out if you need to. So there is a mix of that, but you have access, and we keep that online access to all the materials available to you for at least a year after the program, so that you can download those, print those out, that sort of thing. But that's a great question, Mark. But everything's provided to you as a digital copy, and then certain things may be physical. All right, Angela.
Hi, thank you, Jonathan. So I have a question. I'm a visual artist. When I prepare to apply to a show, I'm thinking body of work and all the pieces need to flow. So I'm wondering if I need to think that way and make my 5 pieces all flow like a body of work, or should I choose the best 5 paintings that I've done?
Angela, I would say that you do want the 5 pieces to be cohesive, like a part of a cohesive body of work, but the goal is not necessarily getting an exhibition. It's demonstrating that the work that you're creating matches the business that you're talking about. So you're looking at so it may not be the 5 best pieces, quote unquote, but it may be the 5 pieces that are reflective of your sort of how you envisioning being an entrepreneur around your work. But yes, I think you definitely want to think about those 5 pieces being cohesive and telling that story that your application is telling as well. All right. David asked in the chat, do you have a date for the pitch event yet? So David, we don't have the exact date yet, but it usually happens the week after Labor Day, like around that Wednesday. So it's usually around that Wednesday. That does change based on venue availability and things like that. But yeah, it's early September. Anybody else? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any question. We're here to help and to answer every question that you have.
Jonathan, while people are thinking of their questions, can I just add a little bit of
Please.
context? As we've been talking about entrepreneurship in business, I want to make sure we're clear in that our definition of entrepreneurship is broad. And so it doesn't necessarily, what you're looking to do with your creative practice doesn't necessarily have to be a for-profit business in maybe, you're thinking of entrepreneurship and that type of building a business. It can be a social enterprise. It can be a nonprofit. There are so many different ways you can make money from your creative practice that I want to be clear that, there's no one sort of business that comes out of this program, that there are a lot of different ways you can apply and a lot of different ways you can dream and create goals in your application and through this program. So wanted to throw that out there for consideration if anyone was getting a little nervous by the terms business and entrepreneurship and the way we've been talking about this program, because that is an adjustment I know some artists have a hard time making, like Aaron talked about in his testimonial. So wanted to let you know that was okay, and that there are certainly many definitions of businesses. So don't let that turn you off from applying.
Yes, absolutely. Simi, I see your hand is raised. You can unmute and ask your question.
I have a question that my field is very specific. I do henna art and henna style art on different things, like Uggs hired me, Converse hired me to do some custom art. So if I'm coming from a place where maybe it's not mainstream art, I do other art too, but my focus for my business, and it brings good money, but I really lack tools how to promote it. So do you think like the chances because of that is low to be approved, or still it's okay?
I think it's still okay. I think it's absolutely okay. We have people that come in that have very specific visions for their practice. We've had, a couple of folks who do, pet portraits, for example. Has been a couple of businesses that we've had come through. We have someone who does live art based on being live in person and drawing based on the music and the atmosphere and the vibe that's happening, which is very specific and very niche and not necessarily something you might think of. So, Simi, 100% that is something you can apply for. That is a legitimate artistic business, and there's no question that you would be able to apply under that. I think the biggest thing is just in your application, make sure you talk about, why you're doing that, why it has the potential, and sort of what your goals are, and show work that is applicable to that style. You said, you do other work, but show that work specifically. That henna art is what you should be showing.
When you say why, like what are the examples? Like what are the answers for those whys?
Well, you can say that you just said it to me. You said that you do all kinds of art, but this is the one that has the most potential to make money for you.
Okay.
So but there may be different for everyone, but it's for you. Why are you focusing specifically on this as an avenue of making money, making a living, that sort of thing?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. And Dina, I see your question was answered in the chat. And we have that list on the application too of what the work samples and stuff, what those requirements are. So you can see those there when you apply as well.
Where's my hand? Hey, hi, this is Dina.
Hey,
I was
Dina.
trying to raise my hand, but I couldn't figure it out. I guess I could share my video. I don't be too shy.
Hello,
everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to. So you're gonna take 4 images or whatever. Say I'm a pet portrait artist, but I also do things that with my art, like to have it on products of all the art that I have created. I have a line of captioned art, and I want to do like print on demand. I want to do all kinds of things with the art, and I have all these other ideas about it. But so when I'm submitting couple samples, um, do I give you like just examples of, I mean, I've got hundreds of art, so just a couple examples of, I send to you through a JPEG, of one example of maybe my captioned art, one example of my pet portrait art, because it's sort of I have a lot of different stuff. So I'm kind of curious. That's why I said, can I send a link to things?
Well, you can, but we don't require the reviewers to review anything beyond that amount.
Nice.
So if you send them to a big website, for example, which 6 are they going to look at before they stop? So I would say that kind of look at what is your, you don't have to try to pack everything into those images. Get your 6 strongest images, and think about sort of what is the, like, what's your, wherever you're at and where you're trying to go. Try to think about what images would be able to help tell that story, but I wouldn't try to cram everything into those just handful of images. Just make sure that those are high quality images that reflect what you're doing. If you're primarily working in pet portraits and you want to venture out, I mean, you can apply and say that, and you can provide, pet portraits and say, this is what I do, and I also want to expand and grow other revenue streams. You don't have to pack all that in, and you just can't do that in 6 images. So pick your 6 strongest images that are focused on the core of your business.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Simi, you have your hand raised.
So the link for this recorded video will be available somewhere that if I want to share with my friends?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to post it. We're going to process this video. We're going to post it on our YouTube channel, and then we will email out a link to everyone here and everyone who signed up, because there's probably folks that weren't able to make it last minute, and they'll get a link to this. So once we process this, upload it to our YouTube channel, we will send out a link to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, does anybody else have any questions? You've got us here, so feel free to ask them.
Just really excited about it, man.
Well, thank you.
Really cool. A lot of good information. I appreciate y'all.
Good. And if you think of questions later, you can email us. Feel free to do that. Our information's on our website, on the Periscope application, on the Periscope page on our website. We are easy to get in touch with. And don't wait till the last day. That way you know that you're going to get an answer. See me.
Sometimes when I'm trying to upload my pictures, the requirements are such that it's hard for me to fulfill those requirements, like how many pixels, how big a file should be. Do you have any link that can help me in adjusting my pictures to upload?
So
maybe later, yeah.
So you'll need to email those to us. And so we use, we have our app. I believe the limit that we have is like a 25 meg limit on photos for email. But if you email us the images, see me, if there's any issue with them, we'll reach back out to you and make sure. But you don't have to upload them with the application. You can just email those to us. And then we'll look at them and contact and let you know if they're okay or not. And we can do it that way.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Oh, Jade, there are some videos of pitches on our YouTube channel. So you can go there and you can see lots of pitches from the last few years. You can see last year we did the pitch in person again for the first time in I think 2 years. It was 2 years. There's videos from 2020 when we did it all remotely. There's videos from 2018, 2019. So go on our YouTube channel and you can watch those pitches and get a really good sense of that. Yeah, we'll see if we can get that YouTube link. All right, anybody else? Okay. All right, well, it's 7:02, so we're going to wrap things up. But if you do have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. But otherwise, you know, check out our website, abcnashville.org. The link to our YouTube channel, I think, was just dropped in the chat. So you can look there. If you go to YouTube and you can't, if that link doesn't work for you, just go to YouTube and search for the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville.
My name is Aaron Graham.
Oh.
I am an artist, and I'm from the Periscope class of
So you can, but you can find us on there if you search for us on YouTube as well. And if you can't find us and you want to watch the videos, email us and we'll send you that link via email too. So we will make sure you can get that information. But otherwise, thank you all for your interest in the program. I hope that you will all apply. Periscope, we love working with all of our Periscope artists each year. It is a great program. And what we find every year is that the community that's built with the participants is something that goes on way beyond just the year that you're participating in the program. So I think you'll find a lot of value in it. And we look forward to seeing your work, reading your applications, and hopefully working with you throughout this year. So thank you and have a great night. Simi, you have a question?
Yeah, quick question. So if for some reason we are rejected, do you guys tell us like what were the reasons so we can improve it for the next year?
So Simi, rejected is probably not the right word, because we have 25 spots. So it's less about rejection and more about once we fill up the 25 spots, that doesn't mean that your work's not strong. Now, if we see something in your application that we can share with you, or we get feedback from reviewers and they say, you know, this was a great application, but you should tell the person this, we will certainly pass that information along to you. But it's not necessarily rejection, it's just, we just don't have the capacity to go beyond those 25 artists at this time. But yes, we will pass on any information that we can based on what we get from the reviewers.
Thank you.
Yeah.